Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. in the UK.
And it is 12 noon in Canada on the West Coast.
Awesome. And we got a new addition to the show tonight. We got the clapperboard. Episode 18, take 110.
All right.
It should be Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Paul?
Good. Did you like my clapperboard?
I did, actually. And I really liked the new intro.
Yeah, it's different. It is different. But I'm not sure many people saw it, but we'll do it again another time. We've got another great guest tonight.
We do.
It's the 1st of February as well.
It is.
Where did January go?
I don't know. But I'm, yay to February.
Yeah, and 11 months till Christmas.
Oh, God, don't say that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, moving on quickly. We have another brilliant guest tonight, and she is a good friend of yours. I'm going to let you introduce this lovely lady, and let's crack on, shall we?
Awesome sauce. Okay, so thank you so much. So tonight we have Maureen Fontaine. She is an expert in live and drive blood analysis. She's an ontological coach, a spiritual intuitive, and a medium. She is a wisdom keeper who gifts us with her vast experiences. She is actually a really, really, really cool lady, and she is a really great friend of mine. So let's bring her in.
Good evening, Maureen. Welcome to the show.
Hello to both of you, and thank you for having me. This is awesome.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm so happy that you could finally join us.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So let's just dive in. So I'm really excited about live and drive blood analysis. So what exactly is it, and what drew you to make this your career?
Well, how about we start with the career thing first, and how this all came to be. I was a school teacher for a number of years, and my expertise was autism and ADD, ADHD. And I saw that the school system was unable to provide more than the basics that these children needed in order to grow to fruition, and their individual needs weren't being met to the degree that they could have been. So I moved out of teaching, which I really, really did love. And I continue to teach to this day in many capacities in a different way. But this type of analysis found me. And at first, I thought, well, it was quite interesting, fascinating nonetheless. But I really had a hard time accepting that this was a good way to approach health. Like, I wasn't convinced yet. So I bought myself a microscope and spent hundreds of hours on there seeing what you could find. Like, I wasn't ready to break up with it, but I was certainly ready to challenge it and to be the skeptic, to ask all the questions. And what I started to discover was that there's a place where no one has answers. And that's what I call the between space. And in that between space, we can see what medical isn't testing for, or perhaps they're testing for it, but it's at such a low level that it doesn't tag the system. And I quite liked the watching the visuals and understanding them and being able to see what's building in the background before it actually becomes a diagnosis. So this is not medical, but it does support the medical in Germany, for example, in Switzerland, where it's a little more accepted there, but is becoming more and more a thing now that the world is opened up more, and now that we don't have answers for a lot of things, especially as we've witnessed in the past 3 years. So I feel like I'm really privileged to have studied as much as I have to be where I am. And I feel like a detective. I feel like, I'm always looking for the nuances that are contributing to how you feel or what you can't figure out yet.
Well, I find it absolutely fascinating because I'm actually a client of yours, and anytime it's absolutely amazing. You know, in the last interview we did, at the tail end, I gave a little hint as to who was coming on next, and I told the audience that when the sewage came through my home, November 2020, you know, I wasn't feeling well and feeling awful. And I came to you because I was going downhill pretty fast, you know, and just seeing my blood, my live and dried blood on your computer screen, it was fascinating, and the things that you found. And I didn't even have to say, you know, I gave you little bits and pieces of how I was feeling, but I didn't even have to say much because you saw it in my blood. Just absolutely fascinating. Fascinating.
What was a surprise for me too, Jane, as we've talked about since, is that you shared what had been going on with you. And what showed up in the blood was like, I really had to keep a game face on because it is unusual to see what I saw. And it was at such a magnitude that it was like, how could you possibly feel well? And the beautiful part about this modality is that once we got busy and got everything balanced, your health just bounced right back. And of course, you were an excellent student, and you listened, followed, and just took it on like a trooper. So that's why you got such good results as well. Right?
Yes, standing and dealing in sewage for 6 hours, I'm sure that doesn't, do the body much good. And I recall saying to you, because it was such a widespread sewage flood in my building, 20 units were hit. And we're all standing in it for 6 hours and dealing with it and dishing it out. And I'm not even going to say other gross stuff that happened, But I recall saying to you, does everybody in my building that was in the sewage have this in their blood? And you said, yes, probably they do.
And each body will deal with it differently. Like some immune systems are stronger than others. And, the whole constitution of an individual will predict how it goes for them. The incredible thing is that eventually, things do sort themselves, but you would have had, kind of a ticket to feeling better sooner than others. And also, your body, so you recognize when things aren't feeling the best. Other people just go on never noticing, or even thinking that there's a solution for how they feel, or that it's changed as much as it has. So. Yeah.
Yes, I know I have an appointment with you on February 10th. And I know, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. But yes, I know my body very, very well, especially my past cancer and all that stuff. So there's, even before you came on and Paul and I were talking before the show, I said, he knows I'm going. I said, I have like circles under my eyes, and I'm still taking everything almost that you've told me about, but I do feel not on top of my game. So I'm excited to see what you find out.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the most common disorder or deficiency you see in analysis?
And that's a great question. Most people come because they know something isn't right, like there's something off. Lots of times it's going to be fatigue. Many times it's around foods. They're just not digesting properly, so we make some adjustments there. And also it's systemic inflammation, which kind of haunts people. So I'm looking for the underlying cause that's producing this outcome, that's contributing to this outcome. So sometimes we think that it's a digestive issue when it's more a thyroid issue. And again, I don't do the testing that medical does. But if medical, for example, says, oh, your thyroid's just fine, I have ways of tracking it that show us it may be testing well there, which is great, but it's building towards a diagnosis. So then we work with you to make sure it never reaches that level. So it's preventative. This way of looking at health is preventative, and it's, there are things that are predictable, but there are things that are preventable as well.
So what is?
sorry,
oh,
Jane.
No, go for it.
Because It's been 10 minutes and I've not got a word in edgeways. So I thought I'd quickly chip in. I'm only joking.
Okay.
I'm only
No,
joking.
you're part of this too. So
I'm very aware that I talk too much, Maureen. Anyway, I just wanted to put a little bit of meat to the bone. So there'll be a lot of people here. I'm only hearing one thing at the moment about your live blood analysis. You're also mediumistic. You're medium, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh, good. I thought he was going to say no for a minute. Oh, gosh. So a part of your analysis, does it go into the more mediumship side of things? So when you're connecting with someone, do you know, is there a part of you you're using intuitively about the person? And because my question about Jane is, how did she get sewage into her bloodstream? Did I listen to that properly? Is that effectively what happened to you, Jane, that you managed to get toxins or toxicity from the sewage into your blood?
yes, from my understanding. And when the sewage came at like 8 a.m, I hopped out of bed, you know, the fight or flight, and I was in bare feet.
Yeah.
So for 6 hours, I was in bare feet, and I tried to put shoes on and just didn't work. And from my understanding, and thank goodness Maureen is here because I don't know if this is right or not, somebody told me that there's no way that the sewage could get into my system unless I had a cut on my foot. But I actually had a blister because I tried to put rubber boots on and they weren't working. And so the rubber boots were rubbing against my heel, which caused the blister. And I basically said, you know, forget that. I'm already ankle deep in sewage. I'll just walk around in bare feet. Plus I was touching it with my hands.
Wow.
So
and you're breathing it in as well.
That's true. Breathing it in.
Okay. So that was picked up. So, but a part of your analysis, Maureen, do you do intuitive stuff with that? Do you get any inspiration come through from spirit?
I do. I'm very careful with whom I like it. You can sense whether somebody's going to go there with you or not. So I'm really sensitive to that or aware of that. Some people come just for that, or they're like waiting for when I'm going to talk about that. You know, because it is a science. Yet, I'll give you an example. So I had one lady fly in to see me not long ago, and she has breast cancer, and she's doing all this stuff, and she wants to make sure that she's on the good side, not the, you know, going down the tube side.
Yeah.
So certainly I could identify a spot. And again, I don't diagnose. So let's just make that really clear. That's a medical thing. But I see where the cancer is in her dry blood sample. And in there, you know, she was very open to that intuitive perspective. And in there was this picture that I was seeing, and I asked if she was seeing it, and she said, kind of, but can tell me more. But it was, you know, those pictures, those art pictures of women that are really voluptuous, like lots of fat on them and big bellies and big arms and big breasts. And there was one just sitting there. And I said, so then she got the picture, she could see and pick it up. And then I said, but do you see what's behind it? And behind it were 3 more such ladies in a lineup. And so what came through was that she was there to clear her ancestral bondages, her ancestral karma, and in the matriarchal line. And so there were many other factors that contributed to this, but those kinds of things will show up. There's also something called biograms, or pictures that show up in the live blood that are, you know, accumulations of colloids or just debris, basically, to keep it simple, debris that will form crystals that are pictures of something. So I have seen one lady in particular. I always ask, what do you see first? Because I don't want to put my ideas on them. And she goes, oh my God, it's a fetus. And I said, yes. And it had a diamond shaped gold piece in the third eye area. And she started to cry. She said, that's the baby I lost 30 years ago. And she just like, whoa. And she contacted me for a number of weeks after, just like still boggled. And she was struggling with breast cancer as well. And one of the, if you look at German New Medicine, one of the conflict that occurs with German New Medicine is the emotional conflict of nurturing. There's a conversation around nurturing, whether it's not enough nurturing as a child or as an individual, to over nurturing, which is going to be your helicopter parent, or, you know, kind of that too much is too much. So
yeah,
it became a big conversation, but those are a couple of current examples.
I do recall at one appointment that I had with you, because I've been to quite a few now. It must have been about a year ago or something. And I recall I was, my cat was not well. He kept throwing up, and I was concerned about him. And I do recall one of the dried blood
samples, layers.
Thank you. I'm like, what do you call them? I don't know. On the outside, I totally remember this, that on the outside of the dried blood cell was actually a picture of my cat. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know. Like, Paul's like, what? But it was him, because he was a Norwegian forest cat. He was a big and fluffy cat. And I recall seeing a picture of him in blood on my cell. And really that shocked me, because it really made me realize that what we think about and worry about literally goes into our blood. It's literally part of our blood, you know. And of course my cat was fine, but I remember saying, oh my gosh, that's my cat in my blood sample. Crazy.
Well, blood represents our soul speak. It's our spiritual aspect coming to fruition through tissue, through matter. And it's one of the ways it shows up. Just like, you know, we can see things in the aura. I see, you know, I can see things. I can see entities. I can see energies. You know, just take me to a psychic fair anywhere, and it's like, whoa, crazy. And that's actually where you and I met. Was that is,
yes, that is. Yeah.
I see those things. I've always seen those things, even from a small child. I know portals. I can see them, smell them, sense them.
Oh, that's interesting, Maureen. What does a portal smell like?
Well, it's interesting, because sometimes they smell, to me, sometimes they simply smell like outside when you're inside. Sometimes, like as a child, to me, it smelled like, I called it outer space. It just was like this galactic smell, which is, if you're a child, you can imagine, you can go in your imaginings to what do stars smell like, and what does up there smell like? So, you know, it's very hard to put into words, but you know, I can sense it when I go to, you know, somebody's place, and there's like a dark hole, or there's a vortexual energy somewhere. I feel that stuff. And it took me a long time to realize it was a thing, and I wasn't just like having a moment of sorts.
Yeah, sure. The other thing I was going to mention before we go way too far into this interview, you also do a podcast, which I'm going to share. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm share the screen, guys. Don't adjust your sets. You're not watching another podcast. But do you want to talk quickly about your other podcasts or the podcast that you do, Maureen?
Yes, certainly. Science and the mystical, it's always been a fascination for me, because we can't separate them. Science cannot exist without the mystical. The mystical can't exist without science. So I'm always curious about how they traverse and how they merge with each other, and how they inform each other. So I know so many amazing people that I just adore. And there are so many people doing amazing things. And, you know, like yourselves, I want to celebrate those people. I want to give them a platform to talk. So this is what I do. It's very amateurish, but you know what? I have a lot of fun. I learn a lot of things, and I'm really happy to give voice to those who actually nobody knows about out there. So so much brilliance. You
might actually see somebody you know being interviewed as well, which is well worth a lot. You've got that on YouTube, but where else can we hear that?
Spotify is one place. Spreaker. Yes, Spreaker for sure. I'm not sure if it's on Apple or not. I don't think so, but there are a few places like that.
Awesome. I'm just going to take this off now, but check that out, guys. I have been watching something really good. So just coming back to your life blood analysis. So if I came to you, you're basically going to prick my finger and get some blood out of me.
Sure am. So I take a capillary blood sample, so baby finger or second finger, just a tiny little poke. And from that, I get 18 drops altogether that I spread over a series of slides. And we look at those together. And so it's very visual. And for some people, it's really emotional. And for some people, it's like terrifying. And for most people, it's intriguing. Children especially love it. Like I remember this one little autistic 8-year-old boy. He was like jumping up and down, just going bubbles, bubbles. So, kids have fun. And we often think that kids will have really great blood, but they actually have terrible blood. Babies have terrible blood.
Really?
Because they get the blood of the mother.
Okay.
Right. So they're coming encumbered. So, that's kind of like the price for this incarnation. But they can also have very good blood, but they certainly don't have the enzymatic capacity to deal with things. That's where, prenatal health is really critical to outcome, etc. So it's a big, long story, but yeah.
The first time I actually went to Maureen, I remember she had to siphon my blood, or that might be the wrong term, but she pricked my finger and then she had to my blood wasn't flowing naturally as it should, and so she had to massage my finger to get the blood to come out. I don't know why that is. Maybe I wasn't producing enough. I'm not too sure.
In the medieval times, they had this thing where they'd hang you upside down. You could have used that, I guess.
Sure, we can attach a few leeches next time too.
I would have passed out.
Well, just to be clear, I don't siphon blood or I don't draw blood, just to be clear. But sometimes we need to warm the area up so it can flow more naturally. And there's so many reasons for that. I had a lady come in this morning with, she had hot packs in her mitts. And she said, I want to make sure I'm warm enough this time. Well, she wasn't even anywhere near. And so I had to run her hands under hot water. And yeah.
Oh, sorry, Maureen, because we've only got an hour and there's so many questions I want to fire at you.
Yes,
and
please.
I'm sure there's people at home, guys, if you're listening, please send in your questions. We've got one from Carol already. But what you offer is such a unique thing. Is there anybody else out there offering this service? Because I've never heard of it.
Well, it's not common. So we are few. We don't have an association or, a club, or anything like that. Like there are very few of us and each is kind of unto themselves. So there's not the camaraderie that comes with, the naturopathic organization and things like that. And, but so that is, it allows us to each be our own free expression within that science, which is great. I think what is unusual is when people, like I know of one other person, but where you merge the emotional and spiritual aspect into this practice. It can be separate. Each thing that I do can be separate unto itself. The coaching comes in no matter what I do. My readings are very coachy in a way because I give you practical tools. The reason we get into trouble is because we don't have answers for what to do. Like I'm so stuck. I have no tools. So it's the same with if I'm coming from science, I give you the tools. What you do with them is entirely up to you. But I'm going to give you some things that I know and have confidence in that will work. The more you work things, whether it's the sciencey, the biology, the psychology, or the spiritual aspect, the more you engage, the more you reap from that.
That's beautiful. In terms of as spiritual people, there's so many people out there that are looking to raise their vibration, etc. What you see in someone's blood, hypothetically, could you raise someone's vibration by what you see in their blood to help them?
Yes.
Is it just literally a well-being thing to raise that vibration, or is it something a little bit more? Is it a mixture of all things?
Well, it's a great question. I really like that question. I could probably talk for a very long time on it, but to keep it ultra simple,
Okay.
if we bring it down to the foods, when we feed ourselves good, healthy foods, they contain a higher vibration than the package or the cellophane wrapped food.
Yeah.
So already we're working with that. As you start to feel better, your vibration is rising. So that's better. When you feel better, you attract higher vibrations. So it's never something singular. It becomes a collective really quickly. We did experiments, and this is just, kind of playing around with blood, where somebody's blood is really messy on the screen. And as you work with it, as you meditate with it, as you infuse it with love and energy, it actually sorts itself really nicely.
Wow.
And I had a lady from South America a number of years ago, and she didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. But we laughed a lot, and her blood was not the best. And she just was all over the screen, like, I'm sorry. I'm here, and like saying prayers and whatever she was doing, because I didn't understand the language. And she was crying and like very emotional. And the blood, it's just like you would rock a baby to sleep and calm a baby. It was one of the most powerful experiences. So it's substance, it's matter, it's vibration. We know that there is no matter. It's all vibration. If you've done the Course in Miracles, you know that that's not a table. It's definitely, it's a collective vibration of molecules.
So, okay, going back to food then, do you see the difference in blood in the blood between a meat eater and a vegan or vegetarian?
Again, a great question. I've seen great carnivore blood where that's all they eat. And I've also seen some of the worst blood in those who follow that program. But I've seen the same in people who are vegan. And again, I try all these things on. I was vegan for 12 years because I need to see, how does it feel? What do I need to do to make that be like a prime tuned machine within? So I'm my own experiment all the time. So if you're a blood type O, for example, a vegan diet for you is not impossible. It's a little bit more challenging, however. Where people run into trouble with the variety of diets is, if it's too hard for you to digest, no matter what it is, it will dampen your ability to resonate with self, to vibrate. If your body is having trouble digesting, it's going to pull you away from your spiritual alignment.
Yeah.
So I'm actually AB positive, and you obviously know more about that than I do, Maureen. But Maureen, she actually changed my diet completely, because when I first went to her, whenever that was, she took out everything. Not everything, but
not quite.
Not everything, but
I simplified it for you.
You did, which made it harder for me, because then I'm like, I don't know what to eat now. But then I figured it out. But learning about what my blood type is, I know that I don't know which one, but one type can eat meat and then the other type can't digest meat or something like that.
Well, it depends what you call meat. Like, people hear the word meat and they think red meat. Well, chicken is meat. Fish is a form of meat. So anything with eyes is considered to be protein or meat. So again, what I love is that the blood type diet is a way to provide a launching platform, right? So it's going to speak to your constitution. So, and that's again another big conversation, but yes, will that change your vibrational frequency? Absolutely. As a teacher, I saw the difference in good foods and how they, changed how it went for that child. So when we changed foods, we saw that the autistic child, their cognitive ability increased and their behavior became more modified, which is great. So they're easier to handle and they're actually able to learn because the body isn't creating a storm inside. That's where this, my kind of crazy obsession with this food stuff was really activated.
It's fascinating. So what is the one thing that you recommend most often to your clients?
The practice of happiness.
That's important for sure. Yeah.
It's so really the relationship with self is so important. And many of us are really good at being very hard taskmasters, and I trip on the carpet of that too. And I know, in our relationship, Jane, we've shared that with each other, that, whoa, you're just really hard on yourself there. Yeah. Or, what about from this perspective? So I give you another vantage point. I give you a different perspective. And that's practice for myself in my own life as we reflect each other. So, because we are indeed just reflections of each other.
Yes.
So kind of lost the question a little bit, but I think I answered it. You can tell me.
We've got so many questions, ladies. Do you mind? We're going to go to Carol first.
Sure. Yes.
Hi, Carol. I think we did an email together. If that's the Carol.
That is the Carol.
one. That's Hello. The one. And I'm not going to do this any justice. Can I do anything to help my blood, as I have? I'm not sure what MGUS is. Monoclonal gamma perfect. Oh gosh. Hang on. Teeth back in.
You can
Go
do
it.
Maureen can probably say better.
I can read it here. So it's a great question, Carol, and I'm sorry for what you're dealing with, for sure. It's tough, right? When things don't go well. When things are so complex with a diagnosis that someone has received, such as yourself, Carol, we still go back to the simplicity of the blood. Like, I don't know, I would have to do my own research on that condition in order to be even able to begin a conversation about it specifically. The beauty of what I do is, when I don't know, I simply go to the blood. It's like I do my own little, prayer, just inviting the blood to show us what we need to know right now. Because at the end of the day, it's all the same from the blood level, in terms of, again, with no disservice to the condition, but we go back to what is driving the condition. So something foundationally is in upheaval, or something foundationally is not sitting right, which can manifest in certain things for certain individuals. And if not caught from that foundational position, it can develop into very difficult things that people experience.
Yeah, makes sense.
It comes down to the simple, right? What we want to do always is balance the pH of the blood. That is so, so important in biological medicine. And that's really simple to do.
Yes, it is.
Another great question from Sharon Cheer as well. Hi, Sharon. Maureen, do you see more in someone's blood than what is actually presented in front of you?
So does that mean, if I'm hearing that correctly, so I might tell you something, but I might see more? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Here's the thing. I feel where I can go with a person. If I feel like there's some really serious stuff, like let's say you're showing too many white blood cells of certain kinds, I'm going to suggest that you get some medical diagnostics done, because that's fair. I'm not going to pretend I know when I don't. That is not going to happen. So I will kind of suss it out. I will test the water. I will, like, if I need to speak to you about some emotional kind of hiccup I'm seeing, or where the stop is for you, then I can breach that very kindly, very gently, very sincerely, with when it seems, when the window opens. So it's like those little portals. It's like, okay, Spirit just gave me permission. I'm going to come in and just kind of, test the waters of that conversation. Sometimes I get, sometimes I have to say really difficult things. And so it's how you say them. Presentation is everything. And sometimes it's just not the time. And I know that with changing that foundational, the foundational conditions, the inner milieu, the terrain of the blood, will probably take care of that. When they come back again, I can see that is so.
Great question.
Very, yes. Thank you.
Tammy's got a question. I think it referred to something earlier. What about RH negative? Is it Reese's something, isn't it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't, basically, when I look at blood type, and that, you know, people, that's a really common question. When I look at blood type, and we know that you're a certain constitution, the positive or negative is for blood exchange. And it does not factor into what I do. But yeah, it's a very fair question. So yeah.
There is also Carol Turner. She's just like me. So what about someone who eats more sweet stuff? That's me.
Well, let's say we'll find all kinds of fun things in your blood that I'll probably be all over you about. You're going to have more
like Galaxy or Milky Way or something
my goodness.
Like
yeah. So there's a reason why you crave sweets, and that's a reason, you know, there's an emotional need. So if you are needing sweets, you're needing something to make you feel good because your emotional self is bankrupt. That's one of the things.
Live on there. Live on there. Hang on, I'm just picking up my ego. Hang on, I dropped it on the floor.
We can talk after, right? No. That's, I would carefully say that to someone with a patient.
Okay, I understand. It's fine.
Yeah, but there are certain presentations that will tell us. With sweets, there's what you eat and there's what's eating you, which is an old saying. So the more sweets you eat, the more the microbial life rises to the occasion to try to modify and control that. And sometimes they get a little sassy and carried away, and so then they have their way with you. So initially they're coming out to remediate the situation, and then they can take over. And, you know, this can be parasites, which are things you acquire exogenously or out from the sushi bar you ate at or the Mexico you went to. And then we have the internal microbial populations, which are innate in you. They're there all the time. We just want them to be quiet and doing their little jobs without having to come up and clean up this Milky Way?
Milky Way.
Yeah, chocolate, Galaxy, Mars bar, Marathon, Snickers, you name it.
Oh, whoa.
Oh my God, yeah.
Halloween at your house all the time, right?
In your body, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I work long hours, and the problem is I reach for something sweet to keep me going. Honestly, we've got Kelly. I've just noticed your question. Would definitely ask another. Honestly, guys, thank you. These are brilliant questions. Rhonda, this is such a brilliant question. Can you tell through blood about menopausal women and what they would need to change, if they can change or reduce the effects? I guess what.
Great question. So menopause throws many women into a bit of an uncomfortable phase of life, especially the transitioning can be extremely difficult. The better your diet, etc., is going to make that transition easier. But I can see, first of all, that you're very hormonal. So we can see that, but yet I don't test for hormones as per, let's say, the Dutch test or a medical test for such. That's not what I do. But I can see that that's an issue. I can also see the state of the liver health, which is the liver is going to determine again how all of the hormonal stuff goes. It has, you know, an impact there. I can see that there are often the fluctuation in hormones and now the diminishment of hormones creates a tremendous amount of inflammation in the blood. I was going to say influenza. Oops, no, or maybe that too. But inflammation, there'll be a lot of inflammation, and there will be things that contribute to insomnia. And, you know, we know if the meridian organ chart, for example, is, you know, in Ayurvedic medicine or TCM, is going to say, hey, you're awake from 1 to 3 and you're sweating profusely, night sweats and all that kind of thing. That's a liver conversation. And if it's, you know, 3 to 5, that's a lung conversation. And there are emotions that go with this. Think of any menopausal woman. And again, I've traversed those waters. It's like, man, if you ever had any rage comes out, it's going to come out more than if you haven't cleaned that up. And the liver is connected to our ability to be with and transmute anger.
Oh, that's a really good. Just don't. So if someone's, how can we say, like, we used to have a character in the UK called Victor Meldrew. Basically, he was a grumpy old man that moaned at everything. So if you're a person that is like that, it's going to show in your blood.
Yep. It will. And once in a while, I'll get someone who's, they're going to play games with me. And it's like, whatever, just sign here, sign away. I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be. And you give me permission to do this. And then as I look at the blood, I can tell you about your personality pretty easily.
Wow.
I can tell you how you feel. I can tell you how you hurt. I can tell you what tears need to be shed. I can tell what you suppress emotionally and psychologically. I can do a whole profile on that. And again, that's with a very unique individual who's willing to go there, because that's scary territory for many people.
Yeah, I'll be volunteering.
Yeah,
okay.
She said it to me. Yeah.
The problem is, if I was sitting in Germany and you're based in America, would my blood be okay if I shipped it out to you?
No.
Oh, so
you'd have to pay. First of all, the cost of shipping it is huge. Also, I'm very particular about how the sample is acquired. That sample of live blood can only last for up to 72 hours, most times only 48. And it's going to be exposed to radiation as well as it goes through airports, etc. I know there are a few places that do that. I think it is. I can't trust the accuracy of it because maybe I don't know enough about it, but I'm not quite understanding how they can say that's accurate.
Okay, another quick one from Hi Kelly. So Kelly, can you see that, Jane?
Yes. She writes, I would be so curious. I'm 4 days post breast explant.
Yes.
It's an immediate and notable mental and physical shift in toxin reduction and release.
Well, first of all, Kelly, I am so you are so courageous. I speak to women about this all the time, and women get implants for the reasons they get implants. I was on the Implant Explant Association of Canada, and so I saw what can go wrong. And so congratulations to you. It's such a long conversation, but I honestly, that is the best, most life-giving gift you could have given yourself. So I honestly, just such big heart to you. Amazing. And you can, and I have seen that the difference is lots of times immediate. And I'm so happy that your noticing has proven so for you. Big hugs. Wow, that's huge.
Brilliant. We've got another great question from Serena. Hi, Serena.
So does every part of the blood represent something different, such as do platelets represent something specific?
Yes. So certainly from a biological point of view, we know that platelets clot the blood. If we have too many, such as we've seen in the last 3 years, there have been different things that people have done with their bodies, to their bodies, for all the reasons. And so the increase in platelets has been significant, and I'm kind of on high alert for that. So that's the biological function, how that will affect outcome in a particular patient. From an emotional point of view, let's just back that up a little bit. So we've got that. Then platelets, of course, are blood system, etc. We know that in people's where the diet is highly congestive, let's say lots of dairy products, super sweet, so stickiness is back to, so keeps coming back to you, Paul. The chocolate bars. Consider that sweetness creates congestion and will stick things together. So the stickiness again is an emotional need for, and that sort of environment, it craves more sweets. The more you eat, the more you crave. And then from an emotional point of view, there are some sticky places in your persona, in your relationship to spirit, in your relationship to self, that can be kind of tenderly held, and the real heart to heart talk with, and because platelets affect the heart hugely. And so it is, if you think anything cardiovascular, and my dad died waiting for a heart transplant. Okay, so they were always trying to control his platelets, and on near his deathbed, he said, he says, I know I'm dying from a broken heart.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. But he outlived anyone else that had his condition at the time. So he practiced happiness.
yeah.
And that's why I laugh at silly things and, at myself, and enjoy my own jokes.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, nobody's perfect, but it's again, what are we missing in terms of our relationship to self? That's where my experience as a coach, my experience as a mom, as a grandmother, as a person in the world who's still working at, my own life every day. And some days better than other days. It all comes down to that. All comes down to that. We have to remember that we matter, that we're important, that all is not as it appears. So as we think it, so it shall be. So as we change our thinking, other things start to fall into place. We can embrace life from tenderness and from deep love and connection. That's what this is all about, no matter what I'm doing.
Kelly's come back with what you were talking about. She just said you made her cry.
Oh,
In a good way, I'm sure. In a good way. So power to you, Kelly.
Yes, absolutely.
And thanks, Serena. That was a great question. There's one here from Helly. Before I go there, I want to ask about, oh my gosh, we could be here all night on this. I'm so sorry, guys. It's such an interesting subject. And of course, it's so giving and helpful. I want to kind of stay with it for as long as possible. A good friend of mine has lupus, and another friend of mine has ME. So things that attack the what do you call it? The just gone out of my head.
Immune system.
Thank you. The immune system. How can we stop that? How can we control that? I mean, lupus. I mean, are all these triggers stress?
Well, first of all, to be diagnosed with something is stressful.
Yeah.
And medically, they often give us the prognosis that there's nothing that can be done, and you just have to live with it, and it has to be managed with drugs. We know from a German new medicine point of view that there's a whole other consideration in the mix. So we go back to the emotions. We go back to being spiritually bankrupt. What is missing? Where can we feed you? Where can we juice things up? What do you need? 2 questions. When somebody has a diagnosis that is very difficult to work with, and that has no hope in sight besides, pharmaceuticals, is from an emotional and spiritual point of view, is what are you afraid of? Like, what is the fear? If the fear could speak to you right now, what is that fear? And the second thing is, what do you need? What is it you need? And as you tell me what you might need, and most people don't know, so the first thing, I don't know, is if you did know, what would that be? It's gentle inquiry, but extremely profound inquiry. We have the answers. So ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, is you've given up on yourself somewhere. You believed the stories. You believed something someone said to you a long time ago, and it's stuck and it's become you, but it isn't you. And that's not to diminish the debilitating symptoms that go with these conditions at all. Both are considered to affect the immune system, and from a biological point of view and a phytotherapy point of view, and all the things that we can give to supplement. They're amazing things, but they're there is immunomodulation, which simply means that the white blood cells are kind of going crazy trying to take care and charge of things. And so we remind them that they're so brilliant and they're so smart. And we're going to remind them of their job description. Because if we have too many worker bees on the floor, it's confusing. Nobody knows what they're doing and everybody's only working at half mast. Mm-hmm. And so we remind the wisdom, we want to tap into the wisdom of the cellular system. We want to tap into that wisdom, and we want to remind it of its higher purpose, which is not to eat you up like a cancer. It's not to overtake you and debilitate you as an autoimmune. It's not that. But we've given terms to things. But how interesting that there are solutions outside of what we've been told. There's always another way. That's how my brain works. What questions haven't we asked? We need to be curious. We need to be curious beyond the obvious. It's like whether it's relationship to people, to our bodies themselves, or a diagnosis. Be curious about, where solutions might come from. And if you don't have a solution, you haven't asked the right question yet. It's very, very simple when you bring it down there. The hardest part is facing ourselves amidst the exploration. But it's really like I've just worked with hundreds of people in terms of how you think it. Let's talk about how you're thinking so we can find the window that will create health for you, whether it's emotional, spiritual, biological.
So if I'm just going to come right out of it. A lot of this stuff is to do with our programming.
Yes, thank you.
So do you ever become aware when you're in that moment that there's a past life crossover?
Yes.
Okay. Oh God, this interview just gets better and better and better.
Isn't it great?
Honestly. So then my friend who has lupus, could that be something that goes back into a past life experience?
What's really interesting to me is that one of the symptoms or the telltale signs that you have lupus is the butterfly rash, correct? If you're familiar with that. And when you look at the butterfly, that's the process of metamorphosis. So it's when you become a chrysalis, and then there's I could have this science wrong, but that's what I'm remembering, is that there's the chrysalis and then the becoming. So for me, that person that has lupus is at the edge of their becoming. When we deny what we are becoming and denying this alignment, this embodiment of our soul self here in 3D, then it's going to manifest. It's still trying to get our attention. Okay. It's like, it's like the sliver in your boot or the rock in your shoe, it's like always trying to get your attention, because if you don't, it's going to create inflammation or a blister or whatever it is. So everything has a message. Everything has information that it would like to share. It's anything like that is looking to awaken an aspect of self. We are not put here to suffer, but we agree to live in the house of suffering.
Yeah. So what is that about?
Oh, that's a big conversation.
Let's not. We ain't got the time for that. We'll be here all night. So
okay. Mark that down.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. So, hi, Helly. She's asked a great question. Hi, Maureen. What about someone which has been diagnosed with endometriosis? Is that a skin condition? I think it is, isn't it? Have I got it wrong?
No, endometriosis is where the uterine tissue escapes the uterus and plants itself.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a GP anytime soon. So
no,
forgive me.
I'm not either. So you're in good company.
Okay.
Endometriosis is approached from a biological medicine point of view, approached via the liver and determining how the organs of elimination are working. anytime something escapes out of a zone that it should be in, it's like there's something about needing to flee the scene from an emotional point of view. What had you, so it could be an imprint from a past life, your current, your childhood, it could be any of those things, but it's an interesting area to contemplate. If you ask your dream world to inform you and give you kind of little tips that way, that's very possible.
There's some good meditations actually, which you are able to create the space so you can release some of that energy from childhood, from programming.
Precisely.
The trick is to not. It's a couple of good ones, but the trick is not to have any expectation. And it's interesting what the subconscious will reveal to you, but the trick is not to give up and not to beat yourself up on some of this. Great question from Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Maureen, are you able to test saliva? Is that something you'd want to do anyway? Is that an alternative?
Well, so I teach you. I always want to teach you how to take power. So saliva, I know some places will take a sample of your saliva and run it through a myriad of tests. I don't do that, but I teach you how to test your urine and your saliva to understand the relationship of yourself to yourself with regards to the biological terrain. Now, we do know that with pH, for example, if your urine pH is super high and your saliva pH is super high and your urine pH is considerably lower, the distance between those numbers are what I call room for argument. So that's a combustion chamber now, and it's going to create all kinds of things. So it tells me lots. I like to know that because I can curtail your program accordingly. And that's how I can work with people. I do a lot of long distance work as well, but there are ways, but there are people who can test your heavy metals using urine or, UTIs and all those sorts of things. So it's like quite broad, but I hope that answers.
I'm just going to put this up there. So Dot says, what a lovely lady, so knowledgeable and compassionate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tracy has also got another question. Hi, Tracy. Okay, I have been intolerant to animal products. I used to get ill with meat. How does this correlate within the blood groups?
Great question, Tracy. So blood type A, which is what I am, their red meats, for example, would be something for me to stay away from. And animal protein per se should not be the main focus of my diet. Now, there's also, no matter what, you could have a really hard time with a vegan diet as well, or a vegetarian, depending on how you do it, because you can do those really badly too. So that's a whole discussion. I know that we also have to take into consideration other things that are going on. So if your thyroid is subclinically low, so medically you're all fine, but if it's subclinically low, you might not be digesting properly. If your gallbladder is congested, there could be a backup of bile and it's not showing up. So you're going to get all these symptoms that will make you ill. So it's a liver gallbladder conversation potentially. It could be the type of meat you're eating. So there are numbers of things. So there could be balance. Purely is, definitely is, needs to be explored. I am really clear that I'm not trying to make you a vegan or a vegetarian or a meat eater. I will respect where you're at, but I will get you to quit chocolate bars.
Okay, I'm just going to say though, what is best for the human body? Do you believe the human species should give up eating meat? I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, it's a great question and a very pertinent one in this day and age. For me, sourcing is really important. Here on Vancouver Island, which is where I live, we have access to grass-fed meat and organically raised meats, be it chickens or beef or whatever, lamb, you name it. It's all here. We have it's bountiful. So I'm very, very grateful. So you want to make sure you're getting at least antibiotic-free meats and fish. Things from fish farms that's another really big story, and stay away. So sourcing is going to be critical to outcome for many individuals who have, a sensitivity or difficulty digesting. I hope that answered.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many great comments. Carol's put, I could listen. This is so interesting. Could listen all night. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have we got, yes. There's one here from Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Sorry, do certain blood types mean anything? X, I'm O rhesus, D negative, or is that O negative? I don't know. D negative?
I do not know about a D negative.
No, maybe
it
she
sounds like
means
a rare type. I know working, there will be there will be criteria that goes with each. I know the Eat Right for Your Type is a book that was out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's kind of been the foundation. If you look at the positive and negative, again, is to do, like, if I can give you blood, then I have to be a certain configuration, etc. So I do not take that into consideration when I do what I do. It's not necessary for what I do, but there will be constitutional differences, but they present in the blood. And I don't make it about the positive or negative, but I do get that would be, definitely a curiosity of people.
What about wild caught fish only? Well, I'm not so sure about that, because there's so many poisons in the ocean now that I heard somewhere that the mercury levels have gone crazy high.
Yes. So I used to teach a course at the college called Toxicity of Foods, and I taught that for a number of years. And when you have the people from fisheries or the people from water, and you have all those experts come in, and when you live by the ocean, which I did, I was right by the ocean at that time, and I see what's in there, it's like, no, I think I'm just going to appreciate that you're a creature in the water, and I'm just going to watch you swim, but I'm not going to eat you. It was, it's really difficult. And in Victoria, for example, the fecal matter in the water system is huge. And that includes the fecal matter from the sea animals, like the fish and creatures. So it's not something I'm super comfortable with. But again, I have some patients that go and catch all that wild fish out there. And more recently, like in the past couple of years, maybe, they're like, won't eat it. So we have to agree. We have to lean into what feels good for us. Some people go, oh, whatever, we're all going to die. Great. Well, enjoy, right? But for me, it's not going to be a choice. Do I eat that stuff? Maybe sometimes. Well, maybe sometimes. But I have to really get in the mind, in the right mind space.
Okay, here's a question straight from upstairs. This is just coming from upstairs. Have you ever come across someone upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
So I always ask, is there any questions they'd like to ask? And I've been, is there anything, a blood type you've come across where you've realized that this was a really special person? As in very spiritual, very high vibrational.
All right. That is a great question. So I find I love that question, because there are personalities that go with each. Now, I know somebody who's probably written something about that, but I've been doing this for decades. So I notice certain personas that come through. As an A or an AB, like I'm an A, Jane, you're an AB. Do you know what you are, Paul?
Oh God, no. I'm just about alive. Clearly.
Well, that's good. That's good news. To be alive is good news. But so as an A, this blood type is considered to be quite sensitive. So let's reframe, because I'm a Leo. I'm a little fiery. Don't call me sensitive and tell me, that I'm a weakling or something. That doesn't go over so well. And so I reframed it. I thought, well, okay, that disempowers me. What empowers me about knowing I'm an A blood type? And, there are some nuances that are sensitive. So I call it the aware body. My body gives me the information about how it's going before and blood type O would even notice. A blood type O can eat rusty nails and go, whoa, that was great. What's next? So there's not as much noticing in that body. You're the hunter, the gatherer. You are the, the kind of the primitive man, like the caveman drive. Like there's a lot of adrenaline needed, and there's all these things. So if, for example, as a blood type O would lean more towards getting those high energy sugary things and the coffee and the this and the that to like keep it revving up here. And A has room for the more intuitive self to infuse with day-to-day things. In the blood type A who doesn't acknowledge the presence of spirit in their walk is going to feel anxious, nervous, and have a lot of, kind of emotional things. Oh, I get so upset when that person just bothers me so much. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm going to worry. I'm going to fret. So there's a little bit more of that. And AB is a younger blood type. It's the youngest blood type. So there's an innocence about that. Just saying so, Jane.
Yeah, Jane, you can't get away with that. I know you too well.
Yeah. So there is an innocence of spirit. There's a lightness of spirit.
She's always moaning about our guests afterwards, honestly.
Oh, I am not. This is live, by the way. I am not.
I'm joking. She doesn't, everybody. She doesn't. Honestly.
No.
Doesn't.
No. So that gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I recall, Maureen, like in the times, like the way that I was brought up, you have 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And when I moved out my own, and you have to feed your own self. I remember you and I having this conversation. I cannot eat 3 meals a day. I can't do it. And I recall you said that A's are grazers and ABs are super grazers. So I will eat when my body tells me to eat. And sometimes, I know you and I had this conversation a few weeks ago that all I ate, my body for a week didn't tell me I was hungry. And so I didn't eat. So maybe I ate like a piece of toast. That was it. But I find it's fascinating how even different blood types, an A being a grazer, an AB being a super grazer, that I eat, little snacks or meals whenever my body tells me to. So I think it's fascinating that we're programmed to eat 3 meals a day, but our bodies not necessarily will do that.
Yeah, like there's a constitutional imprint.
Yeah.
Whereas a blood type, like a caveman, blood type O, once a day, if you caught the deer or the antelope, and so you would chow down and have one big meal, and it would be like, you would be ravenous and get all kind of fueled up for the next hunt. And if you read the history of these, it makes sense. So it's so true. I think what we choose to eat, if you're the super grazer, is a thing, because each blood type has some nuances in terms of the disease profile as well.
So I'm going to ask a question that I just thought of. So do you know why there is like AB? Why is it a new blood type? How did it become?
Yeah,
how did it become?
A great question. How did that evolve?
Well, this is a really elementary response to that, because I haven't read that material for a long time. But in the interracial marriages and through migration, first people were just here and then now they're everywhere. So everything becomes quite diluted. And so that's from where through the mingling that this blood type emerged. And I heard at one point there was a G blood type and an H blood type. Never hear really anything about that, but I actually haven't investigated. So I'm sure somebody could come up with some information for me. But, and again, it's not only about blood type, it's about so many other things. I think that we need to approach the blood type diet. They've already created your very specific anti-inflammatory diet. If you have any disease or condition going on, plug in there. 99% of the time you're going to notice a shift. and we haven't even really done anything. It's not about what you can't eat. Look at what you can eat. We've made it simple, or they've made it simple. And then I come and I take my red pen and we get rid of a few things based on your blood or on what your blood presentation is. So you see, it's all about curtailing. This is like going to a seamstress or a tailor. What is the perfect fit for you? That's what I do. Hey, I just thought of that. I'm a tailor, seamstress. Of the blood type, or of the bloods.
But technology in food has really come on the last 20 years. And I think in essence, from what you're saying, diet is really crucial, isn't it? A way forward for us to stay healthy, etc. And a lot of people do know that, but Doc Cooper, well, kind of everyone's talking about the latest diets, but Doc's asked a really great question. What do you suggest to younger people? Reference cost of living. It's difficult. It is difficult to eat healthy. Do you believe they should use herbs and plants? Is there anything you could suggest? And how do you take that stress away for them? Because it's so difficult. I know in the UK, the cost of living is so expensive. The young people trying to buy a house together, it's just, a lot of people cannot afford it at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. So having worked at the college level, I've heard every excuse in the book with regards to why they can't eat healthy, because they're on their student loans, they have this, they have that. So I get it. I totally get it. But I always offer, I can come to your house and we can go through your cupboards. No one's ever taken me up on it. Or we can look at
mine.
You can look at mine.
We can look at your budget. And those same students that complained had tattoos, had hair extension, nails, whatever. Right. So it's priorities. And I'm not saying anything about those things, because everyone, gets their zhuzh on in certain ways. But there's a way. If you want it, there's a way. And there are people actually if you have a nutrition school there or something, they'll take you shopping and show you how to spend that money. I'm all about good food on a shoestring budget. This is really important. It's just me now, so I really make sure I have top-notch quality, and of course we have wonderful access here. But I really get that that's a thing. So with young people, depending, let's say you have lots of gas and bloating and real discomfort, do one thing. How about let's get the dairy out? No ice cream, no cheese, no milk.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out.
So I drink tea all the time. What would I do without milk in my tea? It's not going to be the same. I'm literally a tea. I don't drink much. I don't smoke. I gave smoking up 30 years ago. I don't smoke. But my only vice is chocolate and tea. I drink it by the bucket load.
Well, there are things that you can do. So here, like I don't believe in the plant milks, like almond milk, hemp milk, all that. I think that's an industry that capitalized on, a new line of interest in terms of that. I think that
Can I just say other milks are available just in case we get sued?
Okay. Yeah. That's right. No, they are. And please go ahead, should you wish. What I'm saying is that they don't digest necessarily really well. I would say that if you can find an organic milk or cream. So instead of milk, even cream is healthier because it has lots of beautiful fats in it. Here we can get organic, sometimes behind the scenes, even raw milk. But, so there are some things you can do. If that's the only bad thing you do, I'm not too worried about it. If you like chocolate, that's it, Jane. We have to find them some really high quality, good chocolate that tastes like cardboard, and we can send it to you.
Perfect.
You can eat that to your heart's content.
See, Eddie's just put on here. Maybe I shouldn't mention my loyalty card at Greg's the Baker's. Oh my gosh, Eddie's so funny. So Eddie's quite. I love Eddie. He keeps popping up with these funny quotes, and he just put, maybe I shouldn't mention my.
Oh my goodness. Well, Probably not. I mean, we would have to agree to disagree on some things, and I'm not that strict.
But for me, I am starting to look at my diet. I'm now pescatarian. I've not eaten meat for almost 10 months, and I'm really proud of that fact because I used to love my meat, my sausage rolls at Greg's. Eddie, you're right. So no, I wasn't crazy on red meat, but I did notice as a medium that not eating meat for a few days before I demonstrated really changed my vibration and my energy. I could feel it straight away. So it was a natural process for me. So yeah, I'm offering now. I know it's on what, because Emma's also come on and saved me. She said 85% dark chocolate is good for you. Is there any truth?
I agree. A really high quality dark chocolate has tons of amino acids, which is really good for the brain. So our brain really loves that. There's copper in there, which is really good for calming blood sugar, or blood sugar and especially blood pressure. So it has lots to offer us there. So I absolutely agree. Oh, and there's organic chocolate tea. Beautiful.
I've heard of that, Suzanne. Thank you for saving me.
Oh, yay.
So,
and Maureen, like right now, I'm drinking, and I drink this a lot because every time I make a cup of tea, I think about you. I'm drinking dandelion root tea right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for your liver.
You're going to get an A+ student.
I know, she's
really
showing off.
Oh, yeah. Well, my health is very important to me, right? I don't want to be sick again with cancer ever again, or anything.
And that's the point, Jane, isn't it? They're looking after. I mean, I joke, and I shouldn't eat the chocolate that I'm eating. I know it's bad for me. But if I didn't, the sales in Mars and Milky Way and a galaxy would plummet, and the stock market would crash. So I need to keep. No, I am seriously going to look at that. I do need to cut down. If my partner's listening, I could be in trouble. She'll be laughing at home. One thing I want to ask you, Maureen, it's been such a fabulous interview, and we really appreciate you coming on and sharing. And we've probably had you on a little bit longer than what you realised.
Oh, we did. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's
so fascinating, though.
We didn't want you to go. One question I want to ask you: do you believe that the body is designed to last much longer than what we? So the average age in the UK is, I think, it's 76 for a man.
Whoa.
Oh.
So let's go back to what you said a while back in this interview, Paul. You spoke about programming.
Yeah.
How often do we hear, well, you're just going to live till 76. If you get 78, whoa, that's amazing. So how often do we hear that? My personal number to achieve is 111. I just like those numbers, right? The conditions are that it requires something from me, and that is attention to body, mind, and spirit. And again, you can smoke cigarettes, drink beer till the cows come home, run marathons, and live to be 111, because you have a good attitude. So again, back to our vibrational frequency. It's such a complex yet very simple way. Some of the happiest people I talk to are people who are dying of cancer.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What is that about? Some people say it's like I feel whole. Why is that?
They've given up the control.
When you say control, you mean everyday life, the struggles, the work,
their attachment. They see that those are things about third dimension, about this living on planet Earth, but they're not attached to them. In the meantime, their families are running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to find, the remedy or the cure out there. And I've dealt with so many people that have been dying of cancer, but the person who's the calmest in the room is the person with cancer. Because when you're face to face with that potential, you can let go of all the other stuff because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And there's a whole different feeling that you embody. And it's quite interesting. As humans, we want to fix and we want to repair and we want to be the one to find the thing. And we don't even know we're coming from ego. We don't recognize it. We think we're coming from, our heart, our love. And that's all true.
Yeah.
but there's a peace and a calmness that comes. I've had near-death experiences. Jane, you've had near-death, and probably you too.
Oh my God. See, we've not even discussed anything like that
What?
tonight. have
No,
we?
I suppose she's going to have to come back then. You know?
Yeah, we'd have to get you back on, Maureen. If you would like to come on, we'd love to have you back on.
Oh, thank you. It would be such an honor. It's just been so fun.
Before you go, there's a couple. Sue's made a great comment. What you was just saying about actually, absolutely, the body calls us through ailments to our soul and emotions have held on to for too long, and eventually we are led to face ourselves on some level. So true.
So true. Couldn't agree more, Sue. It's, if you think of, you know, it's there for a reason. It's there. It's bringing information forward that we just, you know, it's going to get our attention. So in people that develop cancer or people, there's something that your spirit self says, hey, you want to be here? This is the time. This is a lifetime when you get to work through that.
Oh my God.
And how long you want to be in the house of suffering is up to you.
Yeah, so honestly, honestly, guys, you have been amazing tonight with your questions. Suzanne has just severe grief does that. Realize nothing can be controlled. I mean, how is there anything that we can help with severe grief? You know, is there? And it's something we don't do enough of in the esoteric world. You know, mediums, oh yeah, I've got your mum here, and then we just park it. We brought a little bit of evidence through your mum's here. She says, love you. And then we leave it with them, and they're going, well, oh my, great that they've heard from their mother, but the grief that we hold on to is so profound. How how that affects the physical body. I wish we could see it potentially. Maybe we could do something about it. Love is love, I know, and love. I always believe love is. Oh God, I'm sounding like a hippie. I'm so sorry, guys, but love is the key to self, and healing as well. But when we lost something we love so dearly, how do we deal with that?
Grief is huge, and it's such, again, a big topic. What I think as mediums that's important, and I'm saying this for myself, is that I have to remember to not let my spiritual ego come in, because there are many levels of ego. My spiritual ego wants to say, hey, I found mom and she said, right? Because then we feel that we've been successful, but that's not the true essence of it. The true essence of it is to sit with it and tenderly hold the fragility of their humanity, of that person in front of us, to tenderly hold the fragility of their humanity in our hands. And that may be in silence. We don't need to speak. We try to fill it up. We try to go, oh, and did she? Oh, yeah, she had a purple cardigan and the third button, it's always coming off. And they go, oh, that's true, which is great. And I love that we can do that. But it does miss the point, as you know, it does miss the point that we need to be comfortable to sit with the person who is in grief. We're not there to fix it. We just need to sit and acknowledge. By being there quietly, we acknowledge the depth of that sorrow. And the rest comes from there.
You know, some say that we choose our path before we come into this world. You know, we choose our parents. Anthony used to co-host the show. He had a pre-life memory of choosing his parents. And therefore, you could argue, therefore, we've chosen to experience that grief. You've chosen to have that experience that we knew we was going to lose mum at an early age or dad at an early age. Oh, it's just, yeah. Yeah, well, we could talk and talk and talk all night more into you. It's been so brilliant. It really has. We both, Jane and I, well, I'm speaking for Jane. It has, Jane, isn't it?
Well, I picked her. I brought her on. She's a friend of mine. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you go, though, Maureen, guys, can you let us know if you shared? I know some of you have. We really appreciate it. We love the information that our wonderful guests come on and share with us. We'd like it to get out there in the world to help people. And obviously, you're more than welcome to contact Maureen. At the bottom here is her website. Any more questions, or you would like some analysis, give Maureen, you can contact Maureen there, drop her an email. Yeah, people are saying they share. I don't know if you can see the chat on the right hand side, Maureen, Just going to give it a sec for people
Okay,
to
yes,
reply.
yes, thank you.
If you go to the private chat for a second, Maureen.
Yeah,
Yes, I see it there, yeah.
yeah, it's okay. If on you'll see people who shared. I think it's my turn this week as well, Jane.
That is correct.
Yeah, so some poor victim. I mean, lucky person is going to get a reading from me.
Woohoo!
So it's a half-hour reading. It's a free reading, and it's just our way of saying thank you. We are going to be doing. We do enjoy doing the evenings where we do just mediumship. We are going to do some more as a bit of a reward to people that watch all the time and get involved with spiritual talk. We do appreciate it. Share the love. That's what I say. Share the love. Okay. Can you see anybody? Is there a name that sticks out to you, Maureen?
Let me just look here. Melody.
Awesome. Melody. Okay, well done. Congratulations, Melody.
Melody Hart, right?
Melody Hart. Yeah, I will. Or if you can contact me, or I can contact you, I don't mind. Guys, if you win a free reading from us, please make sure you contact us. If you don't hear from us, because we all have busy lives. Melody's just put yay. Get in touch with us. Don't be afraid to drop us a message. We will get to you. I'm doing Liz as well. So yeah, guys, just let us know. All right. Well, by hook or by crook. Technology is not my thing, so I get lost in all these different ways of communicating these days. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome. So I guess it's time to go already.
Yes,
We spent an hour and a half interviewing you, Maureen.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun.
It has been. It's been absolutely brilliant. We can't thank you enough for coming on and agreeing to come on. And we'd love to come back, bring you back and talk some more, because there's so much we haven't asked about.
Yeah, we can, just as a little teaser, we could ask, I didn't get to ask about you living in the funeral home. So, that will be a little teaser for the next time. Sorry, everybody. You're going to have to wait.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it's a little teaser.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. We'll definitely bring you back on very soon. Maureen Fontaine, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, thank you, Maureen.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight. Yeah. Thank you.
And good night to everyone out there. We'll see you back here this time. Well, 8:00 next week. GMT 12 in, is it EST or PST?
PST.
I'm getting it. I am getting it slowly. Well, have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you all soon, guys. Take care.
Bye.
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 Bye.